How do you create a brand that feels playful and super creative without it feeling unprofessional? Today in our series Logo to Brand, we are creating a full visual identity based on this logo. And I will share all the little crucial details that will take your design from meh to stunning. Because a great brand doesn't stop at a nice logo. The brand we are creating for today is called Topsy Turvy. And it's a fictional shop that sells art prints, handmade ceramics, and gifts, but they also host art classes in their space at night. This is a perfect example of a business that is all about creativity and playfulness. The name even means kind of chaotic in a sweet way. The logo is this cute word mark that already has a lot of character, so let's spin the wheel to see what type of designs we'll be creating today. Okay, amazing. So we have merchandise, social media, and our choice. How fun would it be if we used our choice to kind of create the storefront with art on the glass and signage? So here's my plan. First, we need to learn a bit more about the business and what other similar stores are doing to make their brand successful. Then we can create a nice mood board in Milanote, and we can finally dive into creating all of our different designs. If you feel unsure where to start when you're kind of getting to know the client and the business, then start with the founders. Why did they start the business? What are they passionate about? And what's their vision for the business long term? If you can figure that out, it will inform all of the different decisions that they make day to day. So you're already really far ahead. In this case, the store was started by Lina and Misha, who are both super creative and wanted a place that could kind of both serve as a community hub as well as a place to sell their products. Think fun, sip and paint nights, make your own jewelry, and hosting mini art exhibitions for local creatives. Definitely the kind of place that I wish I could have around the corner. The idea behind the name and logo was to capture this idea of chaotic movement as being something kind of beautiful, hinting at how life is not always a straight line, but art and great people can make it lovely anyway. Now that we know a bit more about the kind of business side and their vision, let's do a little research and see if we can find some really similar shops. This part of branding is not about kind of copying what's already out there. Instead, we're trying to get to know what's already out there and seeing a pattern for what seems to work. And then we can translate that into something of our own. To avoid getting too derivative of other brands, try and gather your inspiration from lots of different places. I like to have a look at books, magazines, movies, and other creative media that is somewhat related. For example, in this case, I might look at other handmade businesses, like for example, pottery or other places that host community events, like libraries or cafes. The one takeaway from this step that I have realized over and over in the past 10 years is that you need to give the stage enough time. When we look at so much different inspiration, we just need to give our brain a bit of time away to process and make some new connections. I'm seeing a lot of illustrations and lots of brands have little characters. It could be really fun to either have a character that could kind of easily fall over and roll back up, kind of hinting at that name and that supportive idea behind the company. Or maybe we create some more minimalistic patterns that are using bold color to get that playful effect in a different way. When I create a full visual identity like this, I often work on all aspects at once. I might start with the sketches like I am here and then test out some colors, only to change them a bit once I actually see it all together. Everyone works in a different way, so if you prefer to tackle one part at a time, then keep doing that. But if you feel stuck, it might be worth trying. I think my favorite sketches are the ones that have this kind of character made up of different shapes and patterns. It really hits that perfect balance between chaotic but in a fun way and something that is simple enough to not come across as kind of kids' illustration. For the color palette, there is an easy pitfall we can avoid. If we choose all soft pastel colors or all bright, more primary colors, we quickly get quite a juvenile impression. An easy way to kind of avoid this is to add a lot more contrast. So we can, for example, mix some paler and softer colors with a few bold, and finally add in some black. Just adding in some black will instantly bring a sense of the design being a bit more graphic and a quirky version of a grown-up. When you're choosing colors like this, we also want to make sure that we are picking a combination that are accessible. It's actually super easy to check by just using a contrast checker like this free option from WebBeam, for example. For the fonts, I'm thinking that we want something that matches the energy of the word mark for the titles, but maybe combining it with something more handwritten or scripted for little callouts, and then we can use something really nice and clean and friendly for the body text. Because we have two funders, it might be kind of fun to inject their own personalities and kind of differences in some way. Lena creates this bold illustrated art and fun stationery, while Misha makes pottery with tons of personality. To combine the idea for the illustrated character and the style that we have there with their own art, how about we use this bold line that changes color as we go for Lena, and more organic shapes and patterns to show kind of the texture and geometry of Misha's pottery. This way the brand will feel a lot more like theirs, and it will also be much easier for them to embrace it. It also means we can keep a really clean base of just white and still bring lots of color to get that friendly and playful but still professional look. With all these different elements, we need to start putting together our different designs. Let's do the merchandising first. We always want to put ourselves in the shoes of the client, so I'm having a think about the type of items that they would actually need day to day. I think a tote bag is a great option because they can sell them as kind of an alternative to a normal bag when customers buy. But also another option could be to have a coaster. That way they can use their own coasters when people come by for different events, and it will also be something that they can maybe take with them as a cute little gift. When we design for print, we want to make sure that we're setting up our document right. We need to add bleed, use CMYK, and good resolution. I usually go for 300 dpi. In this case, our designs are very straightforward. Essentially, we just have two squares in the circle. But if you're designing for something a little bit more complex, like a print item doing packaging with different sides, or something that maybe will wrap around a bottle or a can, for example, then we want to use die lines. These are easy to download from the printer's website, or you can use a tool like Pactora, for example, to create your own. If you want more details and a full walkthrough on die lines, then check out this video. For both designs, I'm thinking that we want their logo to kind of be incorporated somewhere, and then we can be a little bit more playful with the rest of the design for illustrations and patterns. For the tote bag, I think that it would be nice to have kind of a saying or a little sentence that shows that you're part of this club. Something a little cute and funny that will make people want to show it off. How about mess is just magic in disguise? I think that's the perfect way to relate to their mission, and it's nice and short to put on the bag. Next up, we have the storefront. I'm imagining the space to kind of have a big glass window and a hand-painted sign. I feel like Topsy Turvy would have seasonal murals on their window, so let's use some of the illustrations that we already created and then tailor them to a bit more of a Halloween theme. We want the design to be fun and creative, but it also should hint at the experience of actually coming inside of the shop. For example, we can have a stack of pumpkins that are intermixed with ceramic ones and greeting cards floating in the wind among the different leaves. A big goal today was to make sure that the designs feel creative but not unprofessional. Try to focus on the layout and smart hierarchy first, and then sprinkle in the illustrations, patterns, and colors kind of bit by bit. As you do, take a step back and see what happens if you add or remove something. Does it help build that feeling that you're after, or is it just getting busier? Finally, let's create some social media posts. Because you're trying to reach people locally who could actually walk through the doors, I think that Instagram is a great place for them. Let's create some Instagram stories to promote their Halloween event. For stories, we want to avoid adding a bunch of text and keep these areas at the top and bottom free, because that's where Instagram tends to often place information like likes or account information. It can be a good idea to have a series of stories that are posted together and all give you kind of the information bit by bit. So we can start by teasing that something spooky is happening on a certain date. then show some of the preparations, some of the products and offers, and finally a call to action to sign up to their newsletter or maybe an events page where they can be notified, for example. Looking at all these designs together, the colors, clean layout, intentional messaging, and also the minimalist base all work together to create something that feels really fun and creative, but grown up and professional at the same time. I hope this gave you tons of inspiration, and I would love to hear what kind of business you think we should design for next. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck with your projects, and I'll see you next time.